Made it. Oh man. Can't believe I just did that like 3 times today, twice today. This thing's on, this thing's working. We got Thomas here. Should be trying to bring him on.
Awesome. There we are.
Hey, how are you?
Doing well. I'm trying to walk. I'm on vacation this week, and
Nice.
with the family, rented a nice house near the lake.
Sweet, man. You're pretty choppy and legging out, man. I heard like a syllable a word.
Can you
Oh,
hear
are
me
you
now?
back now? A little bit, still pretty choppy. No, looks like you're gone again. Oh, you're back, I think. Video's better, the audio's not really working.
All right. Audio's not working.
What's that?
Oh, hold on. Let me see if I can try something here. Hold on 2 seconds.
Yeah, sure. Seems to be working now. I'm having like, that's funny. Oh, what's this little button here? You're back.
Yeah, man. How about technology? This is awful.
It seems to be like the story of my life when I'm trying to do these lately.
Yeah, man. It's not easy. So, what's on the agenda for today?
Yeah, man, I think we were just gonna have a chat about picking out your core values and why it's important to have your mission statement and all that settled out.
Yeah, it's super important, and it's got to be one of the most difficult things that I've ever had to do. Um, I'm definitely not a master at it by no means. There's people that know way more about it than I do, but it's definitely something that I think that anybody at any level of business needs to do. Even if you work for a big company, you should have your own personal core values set aside. And if you are in any sort of leadership role within a small business or even a large business that you're part of, it's really important to have those hashed out because they become the guiding light for that business and where you're going.
Mhm. Yeah,
You know?
absolutely. And people tend to people gravitate to that, right? When your values and your mission and everything is aligned with them and their core values and their missions, you tend to gather quite the tribe, and you guys are pretty much unstoppable at that point.
Yeah, very true. That's exactly what happens. You start to attract the right people and at the same time repel I'll
Hmm.
even call them the right people. There's certain people that you just don't align with. It's not that they're
Yeah.
bad people. It's just that, you know what, maybe I'm better off not wasting my time with them. There might be somebody else out there that the congruency, you just work better together. It
Yeah, absolutely.
goes for, not only is it your talent that you're hiring on your team, it goes for your customers. And a lot of people, especially small business owners, have a lot of trouble with that one. Not every
Hmm.
customer is the right fit for you. I mean, it all goes back and relates, I believe, to the 80/20 rule. 20% of your customers produce 80% of your results. Well, that also applies to your crappy, or let's just be blunt here, your shitty customers.
Hmm.
It's always that 1 or 2%, or if you want to go up to the 20%, customers that create all your headaches and woes. So if you can go ahead and knock down your core values and your purpose and kind of repel those customers, things are just going to be easier for you.
Yeah,
Listen,
absolutely.
some industries you don't have the luxury of choosing, who you're going to work with.
Hmm.
I think on the coaching aspect of it, if you're a business coach, you can definitely, that's an industry that just comes off the top of my head very quickly, that you can just
Hmm.
say, hey, I'm not working with these people because they just don't align. Whereas you go and you open a retail store, or you have some kind of business that has some foot traffic coming into it. You don't have a choice. Like in my business, we don't have a choice.
Hmm.
The vendors who actually we do the work for, yeah, we can choose them, but we essentially are a third party provider, and we provide service for that vendor. So that vendor goes and sells the product, and then my team goes and installs it. So
Hmm.
I can't choose who the customer is,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, we can't always say, hey, have a nice day, and that's what needs to happen a lot of times with customers. You have to fire them.
Yeah. Yeah, and like, well, because you do business consulting too, right? Um,
Um, no, not
or
really.
coaching? No?
I'd like to get into it, as I grow myself, but
Hmm.
I've been around enough of them to kind of understand that business a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's so easy when somebody's like when you're starting a new venture or you're branching out on your own for the first time, even if you have somebody guiding you to get your core values done, to get your mission statement and stuff done, the new kids on the block don't always honor it because
Yeah,
it's you're in a place of scarcity often when you're starting out. Most people are. And so they're like, well, I know, but I'll make an exception this time. I'll make an exception this time.
mhm.
And then again, the 80/20 rule comes into effect, and they just have a bunch of those people who are nonstop headaches, and it's just destroying them.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. I think that when you first start a business, you're hungry. You're so hungry, and
Hmm.
anything that gets thrown at you, you'll take it. I mean, I remember I'm on my second business at this point in time. I started my
Hmm.
first business. I was 21 years old, and I was a great technician, but boy, I did not know a thing about business. And I think
Hmm.
that's the trap that a lot of people fall into. And I mean, I would literally take on any project that was thrown at me. Someone came
Hmm.
in, and I was doing car audio, remote start, security systems on a very high end level at that point. Um, and someone would come into me and just have some obscene request, and I would just say, yeah, I can do it.
Hmm.
Just leave me the car. Give me the car for 2 weeks, and I'll do it. And
Yeah.
a couple of things happened. Got myself into trouble a couple of times, and then you have to figure yourself a way to work out of it, which
Hmm.
is good, especially when you're younger. It gives you you have to become very resourceful and very
Yeah.
quickly resourceful. There's nobody there to hold your hand and help you through it. If you said you're going to do something, you better go and do it.
Hmm.
At the same point in time, it was, and I didn't realize this at the time because I was so involved in the technician role of the business. You're pulling yourself away from your core. What's your core
Hmm.
offering? Which is going to align with your core values as well. What am I really doing here? And I think a lot of small businesses just get into a big problem where they just become generalists. They do too many things and they don't do them great.
Yeah.
Whereas, I think the saying goes, the riches are in the niches. Find something that I don't know. I don't even know if you have to love it, honestly. I don't know if you have to love it. Does it help? Yes, it does.
Yeah.
But find something that you can drill down to. And again, this is where your mission statement and your core values come into play.
Hmm.
Okay. Before myself and my partner had nailed these down, we were still doing a little bit of everything. So someone would come up to us and say, "Hey," and just so people who are watching, if no one knows what I do, my company installs GPS tracking devices in commercial vehicles. So we were getting calls from people, "Hey, I want a radio put in my truck. Hey, can you put a keyless entry in my truck? Hey, could you put a remote start in my wife's car?" And this
Hmm.
was stuff that was very, very familiar, very comfortable for us. It was also quick cash.
Hmm.
Um, so it was very difficult, especially at first, to turn that work down. The problem was that work required myself and my partner to go and
Hmm.
do the technical aspect of it because
Yeah.
it was a little more involved, a little more advanced than installing a basic tracking device in a truck. So,
Hmm.
here we are, and we're throwing ourselves right back into the technician role, doing it, doing it, doing it.
Yeah.
And when you're doing it in the business, you can't work on the business.
Hmm.
And it took so many years um, of literally shoveling shit against the tide for us to come to that realization. And
Hmm.
we have a local business coach that we work with here on Long Island, and he was hammering me for a long time on it. And finally, it was like, all right, I know I have to do all this, hocus pocus core value nonsense that you've been busting my balls about for a year and a half now. And, it sounds all great and all, but what is this going to do to my business? And I have to say that the
Hmm.
change was not overnight. It was not instantaneous. And
Hmm.
listen, man, I'm a guy who worked with my hands my whole career up until pretty recently. And I was someone who was able to go into work, right? And I would do something. I would build something with my hands. I would install something into a vehicle, and I would see a finished result within a matter of hours, sometimes less.
Hmm.
So now you switch myself into a role where I have to work on the business, and the work that we're putting in today, such as building core values or just defining what they are for the company,
Hmm.
that I might implement that, say, today, but I'm not going to see the effects for that to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months, 12 months from now.
Hmm.
So that was really difficult, and it was a big change to kind of accept, because you put all this time, this effort, and flat out money
Yeah.
into putting this stuff together, and it's like, all right, well, shit, what did I do all that for? I
Yeah.
could have gone out there and worked on 30 trucks between the time I started that and now, and actually taken money in for the company.
Hmm.
So it was a complete mindset shift. But honestly, now that we've actually gone through it, I wouldn't go back and I wouldn't change it for the world. It's allowed my company to grow. I don't want to say exponentially because it hasn't gotten to that point yet. But we
Hmm.
went from 4 employees, and I think it was about a month ago we just onboarded our 15th employee.
Hmm.
So we're
Nice.
still not huge in size, but
Still a good milestone, though.
it's yeah, it's a total good milestone. I can tell you right now what my numbers are projected to be. In 2019. I can
Hmm.
tell you how many employees that are going to be on my team. And basically, when you figure out that mission and you start documenting and putting things on the timeline and making real goals out of them, you
Hmm.
have a roadmap to follow. It's like I'll equate it to let's say you don't have your purpose, your why nailed down. You don't have your mission nailed down. You're just like a big ship floating around at the mercy of the sea.
Yeah,
So wherever
exactly.
those waves want to take you is where you're going to end up.
Hmm.
And I don't know. I'm just not cool with letting somebody else tell me where I'm going. You know.
Yeah, exactly. And when you flip that and you couple that with drilling down your client avatar, your ideal clients and stuff like that, that's powerful because like if you're expecting, a lot of people expect overnight results, they want to be an overnight success. It it doesn't work that way. It
Mhm.
doesn't go that way. But if you position all these different components, yes, it's time, it's money, whatever, but you've now set yourself up for more of a long-term success. And just when things start happening and those pieces start falling into place, it's truly a magical thing. Like it's pretty crazy what happens.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. You know. It. I think a lot of it has to do with listen. This is it might sound cliche, and I'm sure everyone's said it, heard it, but it really makes a difference with who you're surrounding yourself with.
Hmm.
You're the sum of the five people you surround yourself with, flat out.
Yeah.
I might offend some people listening to this right now, but I'm at a point in time in my life where I don't give a shit. So,
Mhm.
um, I've made conscious choices over the past, I'll call it 2 years, because I guess about 3.5 years ago is when I started getting real serious about my business and myself professionally. Um,
Mhm.
and about 2 years ago or so, I started making very conscious decisions on who I was spending. You know,
Mhm. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
mhm.
It goes a
What do
long
you
way, man.
do
It
to
really
filter
does.
out people? Yeah, it does. Are you doing anything to filter out people that don't align with your personal core values in your life?
That's one of the hardest things in the world to do, right? Because
Hmm.
when you're first meeting people, when you're first building a relationship, it's hard to discern where their core values actually are and how they're aligning and positioning themselves because people talk and people love to
Hmm.
talk, right? So it's not always easy to have that filter catch them and block them out. Um, I do everything that I can, but again,
Yeah,
I'm not perfect. Nobody else is, and it's only really been, I'd say this year especially, I've really been like buckling down and going hard on it, right? And a
hmm
big part of that is from like being around guys like yourself and Ryan Stewman and in Garrett's program there in Warrior. Like that gets beat into us and drilled into us every day. When I was first in finance, man, I fought it. I fought the ideal client. I fought it all like 7 years kicking and screaming, like, screw this. No, not happening. Like, I don't believe in it. Come January this year, I was like, I need to make a shift. And it's time to start listening, right?
yeah.
There's got to be some truth in it, and it
Hmm.
was the best thing that I ever did. One of the best decisions I made.
Yeah, it's definitely much easier said than done. I have these conversations with my wife on a regular basis. She listen, without her it wouldn't be possible. But
Mm.
she agrees with me as well, and I think it gets even more challenging when it goes from not only friends you're starting to talk about and consider, but family and sometimes close
Yeah.
family, and it's just a harsh reality, you know.
Hmm.
But if you want to step your game up and become the person of your dreams and aspirations, then you know what, you're gonna have to get uncomfortable, flat out.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing too is that I've been noticing is it also gets easy over time as you're
Mm-hmm.
practicing it as you're doing it, and you start seeing people drop off or you start kicking people out, however you want to put it. It's just having that freedom to put your energy, your focus, your everything you're doing into the path that you've picked out and that you're designing for yourself, it gets that much easier because you start realizing how much certain people and certain influences were in fact holding you back.
Yep. It's so true. It's so
Oh.
true. You know,
At the
it's like,
beginning, it's the hardest to make the beginning is the hardest to make the cuts. The farther
yeah.
you go, it's I think it gets harder to figure out who needs to be cut because
Mm.
your circle is changing and there's new people coming in that are more on the levels and thresholds that you're trying to hit, and you're basically starting from scratch over and over and over again, reburning
Yeah.
everything down, rebuilding, reburning, rebuilding.
Hmm. Yep. It's so true. It's so true. That's awesome. Well, it's awesome
Yeah.
if you understand it. You know, it's not meant to be. Oh, it is kind of brutal to the people on the other end if they even understand what's going on. But usually at that
Yeah.
point in time, those people just, you know, they haven't kept up with you. You know, so
Hmm.
if you're on a trajectory path like this, curving up, right? You know, and these are the people that just come in and they just keep staying stagnant right here.
Hmm.
You know, so I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
So, do you have any? Because I've been searching for the right way to do this, and again, I'm no expert. Have you
Mhm.
found a good way, a good system, a good process to nail down core values, whether it's personal or business?
Man, this might sound kind of cliche, but meditation.
Okay.
Meditation goes a long way because like your core values, that's in a sense that's a representation of your authentic self, your inner voice, right? And
Hmm.
so meditation is or like going out in nature, like I grew up in British Columbia. So I had like all the parks, all the mountain, everything around me, and that's where I found I really connected with myself, and that just getting back to those basics and asking myself like who am I, what do I want, what do I value deep down inside, and just letting myself guide myself to that. It's not going to be
Yeah.
perfect, you might have to rework things here and there, but hey, it's a good
Hmm.
start.
Yeah, you
What
have to
about
start
you?
someplace, man. I've tried so many different methods. I originally, basically, I went to some close people in my life, some close
Mm-hmm.
friends, some close relatives, my wife included, and I had found some like spreadsheet template online that I had used. Basically, all right, you know, list out all the words from this list that you think apply to me, and I
Mm-hmm.
gave this list to like five different people, right? And basically, what I did was when I started seeing words get duplicated over and over and over again, I started
Mm-hmm.
focusing on those words. So, you know, if I got, I'm just throwing crap out here. If I got, you know,
Yeah.
respectable or resourceful, anything like that, that just came up a couple of times, I looked deeper into those words, and I just started drilling down from there. And
Mm-hmm.
I had come up with a list that was pretty long. Um, and then the next step was, um, I guess it was literally over a 6 month period. My partner, myself, and our business coach in his small office in Hopog Island, drilling down 1 day a week for 6 months, and finally figuring out. We kind of took our personal core values at the time
Mm-hmm.
and said, all right, well, listen, since we both own this business, you know, these core values can't necessarily be ours personally. They have to be a
Yeah.
combination of who we are and who we are. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what we wound up doing. And it was brutal. I mean, it was like it was awful conversations. It was like yelling and fighting in this guy's little office. You know, and we both look back at it now and laugh and we're like, oh my god, I can't believe we went through that nonsense. You know, but what we have
Yeah.
now on the other end of it is just so pure gold. But so we went through this process. We got things nailed down, and then literally once we had it done, we started making every decision in the business based off of those core values.
Mm-hmm.
So who, employees, do they align with our core values? Hiring, firing, um, again, going back to customers. So the vendors, when we go out and we look for a new vendor to onboard, so we can install their product, we kind of put those people through the ringer, whether they know it or not.
Hmm.
Comes into the hiring arena, we have a bunch of hoops built into our hiring process. So we didn't have a hiring process before. So the hires we were getting they were garbage.
Yeah,
So
that's
when
not
we
good.
went and we designed our hiring process, and we're on iteration number 2 now, by the way, over the past year and change, um,
Hmm.
we started building in hoops within the hiring process to filter out people who don't align.
Hmm.
And they're very small things. They're subtle from the outside looking in. If you don't know or have never seen this kind of stuff, you don't even know you're getting hit with it.
Hmm.
I mean, simple stuff like we have if you want to become an installation technician for my company, you fill out an application online, and then a little bit of automation comes into play,
Hmm.
and you are emailed an assessment test. It's 10 questions. Fill it out and get it back to me. 8 of them are multiple choice.
Hmm.
Okay. If you don't have this test back to me within 48 hours, you're no longer considered.
Hmm.
Okay. Very simple.
Yeah, that's
So
reasonable.
even if you even if you have zero skill in the installation technician field, okay, if you go, you can literally Google 8 of the 10 answers on this test.
Hmm.
Google them. And one of our company core values is resourcefulness. So if you can't, and I'm giving you 48 hours to go Google 8 answers, if you
Yeah,
can't do that, you're not the right fit for my team. So
absolutely.
uh, it's worked out really well. I just had a guy complaining on our business Facebook page the other day that this assessment test was geared towards GPS installers, and how he had over 17 years experience as an avionics installer for the military. And I literally wrote the guy back. I'm like, hey, dude, listen, if you're too lazy or unwilling to take the test, you're obviously not the right fit for us. Have a nice day. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to be rude, and I don't want to, but
Oh,
at some point in
absolutely.
time, you just got to cut the cord and move on.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and to like tie into what you said, I've had a rule for as long as I've been in finance and then even now in the digital marketing, I've carried this rule with me. Nothing goes unanswered past 24, 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Like no matter what, come hell or high water, 24 to 48 hours, if you reach out to me about something, you will have an answer.
Yep.
That's always how I've operated, and it's like I do that because it's a buffer. You never know. My mom could end up in the hospital in surgery. Kids could be sick. Who knows what could happen? You might need that 48 hours, but not very often.
Mm-hmm.
Usually people
Mm-hmm.
get answered by the end of the day, which is cool. But it sets that expectation and just something small like that to tell clients or prospects or whoever that hey, I have this rule, like this is one of the expectations that you have. It just blows them
Yep.
away. It's like, really? I don't have to wait a week for an answer like some people make us wait. And
Mm-hmm.
then not only that, because I've partnered up with a couple other people back from Entourage and stuff, and they've been seeing Jeremy, what's going on, buddy? They've been seeing how well that's been working with me and the type like the little things that I've been doing to get the rapport with my clients. And now it's how do we take this and scale it out to like a company-wide thing so we're all kind of operating on that same foundation, on that same level.
Yep.
Right? And that
Sure.
just again ties in with what you said when we first got on the call about just setting those standards.
Totally. It ties right back into core values over and over and over again. It really does. You have to you have to, if you're hiring the right way and you have people that align with your core values, they're going to be open to um, coachability, I'll call it.
Hmm.
Hey, you come in and this is how we're going to do things here. So
Hmm.
if you're not open to being coached somewhat, and I'm not saying I'm going to go run you around the track, it's not what this
Hmm.
means.
Yeah.
This means you come in here and you might reply to an email a certain way, or you might go to enter a process this certain way. And I'm not looking to micromanage, but no,
Hmm.
hold on a second. This is how we do this here in this company, you know.
Yeah.
And again, if you hire the right person, 9 times out of 10, you don't even have to do that. It's just
Hmm.
magical. They come in and it's like, oh my God, it's like I've known this person for my whole life. You know, you
Hmm.
instantly kind of groove and work together nice. Um, so listen, we've had it on both ends of the spectrum where, you
Hmm.
know, you hire someone that does align and it's an amazing onboarding experience. And then we've had it where, you know, we've hired people, and this happened usually, you know, long before we even knew what the whole core values were and mission
Yeah.
statements and purposes. But you know, we had some awful hires, just awful. You know, and everyone has different stats on it, but you know, and there's calculators you can go Google on what a bad hire costs the company. But usually, you know, some
Hmm.
people say it's 3 times revenue. I don't know. I don't know what the number really is. I know it's not cool. You know, we went through a bad streak where we had 3 bad hires in a row, and it was like, man, 3 months with this guy, and usually around the 3 month mark is when we get someone just about trained well enough where, especially if they're a newer guy, where they can go
Hmm.
and go out on the road and get kicked out and basically just start doing work themselves.
Yeah.
And it was like, all right, we get to the 3 month mark with this guy, and he quits. All right, on the tail end of him going out, we hired another guy, and the same thing. Oh, it was 3 times. It was an awful cycle. And
Yeah.
I remember going into my coach's office on a Friday morning. And he looks at me and he goes, "Man, what's wrong with you?" I'm like, "I'm just beat, man. Beat. You know, like we put all this energy into these 3 guys. Almost a year passes, and I have nothing to show for it. You
Hmm.
know, and here I am. I have nothing to show for it. Since I have nothing to show for it, I'm the one stuck going out and doing the work in my company,
Hmm.
where I know my role is to go out here and work on the business, not in the business. But since I don't have anybody capable at the moment to go do this work, here's my partner and here's me going out on the road, you know, working 12, 15 hour
Hmm.
days, you know, because if your technician goes out there and works 8 hours, you know, if, if you're anything like me, you know, oh, well, that guy can do 8 hours, I can do 15. But
Yeah.
when it's your own business, it's a lot different too, you know. So he, my coach basically said to me, all right, he goes, you need a hiring process. He goes, basically, whatever's going on right now that we've been working on, he goes, we need to clear it off, and he goes, we need to start cracking away at this. And we
Hmm.
did. Again, it was like from start to finish, it was like a 6 month process between doing all the research and figuring out, you know, what we wanted to implement, and once we decided what it was, going and beginning the documentation process on it, so I could take that hiring process and hand it over to
Hmm.
somebody else on the team. Again, if I'm the only one who's able to do it, then what good is it? You
Yeah.
know, especially if you're looking to scale a business, you're going to need to basically take that system, that process, that checklist, and you're going to need to delegate it to somebody else. You
Hmm.
need to train that process. Say, hey, use this checklist when you do this.
Hmm.
You know, here's the map. Here's the roadmap. I'm telling you how I would do it, and here it is on paper.
Yeah.
You know, without that, it's trouble. You know,
Absolutely. Yeah.
again, I think a lot of small businesses, especially, refuse to document, and I don't know if it's because they're scared of it, they don't think they know how, or they're just too lazy to do it. I mean, our documentation is nothing fancy. There's no
Hmm.
fancy layouts. There's no fancy fonts. There's no fancy images. It's literally just some bullet
Hmm.
points typed up on a Word document, and there it is. You know, yeah, maybe one day we'll make it fancy, but I don't think it needs to be at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And there's any number of reasons why people don't want to do it or don't want to follow through. Often it comes, often it just comes down to the perception of the time and energy to make it. Some people
Mm-hmm.
think that, like, I know I went through this, like with my compliance manual back in finance. I went through, I knew it needed to be done. I knew it didn't need to be fancy, but I'm like, well, do I want to build this or do I want to go out and help another family? Or
Right.
do I
I
want to
get
do
it.
this? Or do I want to do that? So you tend to say, forget this and put it aside. Same with like hiring, training, all of that. And what we like that may be okay in the short term, there's some merit, but in the long term, once you start like your experiences and stuff like that's
Mhm.
where all of that would have just it wouldn't have been as much of an issue having that all documented.
Yep.
One of my mentors out here, he took a program, he took a course, he got trained on how to basically build an HR binder for businesses. So it went through
Mhm.
core values, hiring process, firing process, accounting processes. It laid all of that out. And because like almost like it's hard to find a business that actually has that in part or let alone in full.
Yeah.
And he would go in, work on that for 6 hours. He'd get paid 20, 30 grand.
Wow.
Like he was charging ridiculous amounts of money to go in and just sit there and interview the staff, interview the owners, the management team, and the HR
Yep.
department, and then just sit there and put this all together. It was absolutely unreal.
Yeah. And again, it's like a lot of people just don't want to do that work,
Mhm.
and it's so important because it's once it's done, and you actually have to use it too, once
Mhm.
it is done.
Yeah.
But once it's done, it's like, all right, go back to the manual. It's everything's there for you.
Mhm.
So we're not there yet in my business. We're still fine tuning it, but every step of the way, I think we're getting a little bit more of a section completed for that HR manual.
Mhm.
You know, it's listen, it is a lot of work, but as they say, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
A little bit of
yep,
pain now for some long-term gain.
big time, big
We
time.
I know we basically just took the four agreements by Don Miguel or something like that, and
Hmm.
basically we just turned that into our little version of it, and that's what we've been using for our core values for now because we're small and that's really all we need. We don't need anything
It's fine.
fancy. Just be honest, operate out of integrity, keep to your word. We'll lay it
Yep.
out on the table. We'll be transparent. We expect you as the client to do the same.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's simple. And
Yep.
the little thing that like the thing that I don't really I don't feel like I need to bring this up, but it just is what it is. We have a 3 month clause in all of our contracts that we sign. So the first three
Hmm.
months is yes, it's presented as like his marketing campaigns, advertising campaigns. It could take 3 to 6 months easy to get that optimized depending
Yep.
on so many different factors. So we have a minimum of 3 months that people need to stay on with us to give us a chance to optimize, fine tune the systems, make sure that it's
Hmm.
working well. But on the flip side of the coin, it's also it's also like it's a honeymoon period at the same time, which is what I don't say. If if we decide that we're not a good fit for each other, either party, the client or us, at the end of that 3 months, we have the option, like both parties have the option to say, do we want to keep investing time, energy, money into this on a month to month basis? Like, do we think like what's the potential for us both going forward? Or do we want to just say, hey, you know what? It was fun while it lasted. We had a good run. No harm, no foul.
Hmm.
It's been working really well. Everybody loves it.
Yeah, that's cool. Listen, you got to start somewhere. I'm a big believer of version done is better than version none. Where
Yeah.
it doesn't make a difference if it's a piece of crap or whatever. You got to start somewhere. Listen, the
Mhm.
same thing goes for a marketing campaign. If you're
Yeah.
going deep and you're doing a follow up email sequence, all right, kick out a basic email. You don't have to get crazy with all those HTML crap and countdown timers.
Yeah,
Kick
no.
out kick out the text. Align it to the left so it looks like a basic email coming out of someone's Outlook, and get it out to the customer. You
Yeah.
know, get the whole campaign done, and then once it goes time to fine tune it and you want to change things, now go back in and make the emails pretty, but get the damn thing
Mhm.
done. I think that's half the problem with a lot of people out there is they start working on this stuff and then they get so afraid to put it out to the marketplace. And
Mhm.
I'm not saying I'm any better because it's happened to me, and it still continues to happen to me.
We all
And
do
I
it.
mean, dude, I posted a video online today, right? That my company worked our asses off for, literally,
Mhm.
for the past couple of months, and I was hesitant before I hit the button.
Oh
Hesitant.
yeah, yeah, I saw that. That was well done, man. I saw you posted an Entourage a couple days ago too. That
Yeah,
was a good video.
thank you. So, yeah, but I got some good feedback on it already. I got people hitting me up, so which is the whole intent. We put some money into that. We hired a professional to come and help us do it, and
Mhm.
let's give it a whirl. See what happens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you know what? That brings up a good point too. Sometimes it comes down to staying in your lane.
Hmm.
We can't be experts at everything. It goes right back to what you were saying at the beginning about being a generalist. It's just know
Yeah,
when to hold them, know when to fold them. There's no harm in reaching out to somebody and saying, "Hey, I need some help," or "I need to save some time, so I need to outsource it," whatever the reason is.
yeah.
Absolutely nothing wrong with it whatsoever.
I agree with that, and let me piggyback to it. So when I first started going in for coaching, one of the first things that my coach did was he said you need to document your time. And it's pretty funny because I was in there on Friday, and we were talking about this again. He's like, "All right, you got to a point now where things are going on," and he goes, you need to do this exercise again." And basically, it's pretty simple. And he goes, for 3 days, every 15 minutes, write down what you did and figure out where your time is being spent. And I know for a fact now that from when I first did it to now, things are much different. I'm a much different
Mhm.
person since I did that. Um, but at first, it was all right. I was spending 8 hours a day on the road installing GPS and units. Then I was going home and I was doing billing. Then I was
Mhm.
maybe doing a little bit of marketing or a little bit of sales, and started really mapping out where this time was being spent, and then kind of dropping it into buckets.
Yeah.
What's a $10 an hour task? What are my $100 an hour tasks? And what are my $1,000 an hour tasks?
Mhm.
And I was spending like 90% of my time on the $10 an hour tasks,
Mhm.
and making decent money at the time, way more than what a $10 an hour employee should be making. Yet
Mhm.
here I am in my own business doing the tasks of a very intermediate person who's coming into the organization.
Mhm.
It really hit home,
Yeah.
when I started looking at things that way. So, once we were able to get to a point where myself and my partner were pulled out of the field, and we didn't do it simultaneously. I actually took the jump first, and he took the jump mm, uh, several months after I did. Um, but honestly, now that we are spending our time on tasks that are much more related to $1,000 an hour activities, it
Yeah.
is just a tremendous difference in the output of the business.
Mhm.
I mean, we've gone and hired all these other people. We've put together training processes and programs, um, put together training videos, put
Mhm.
together a video library for my team to use when they're in the field. So if they run into a vehicle they've never seen before, they go
Mhm.
onto a private Vimeo account, they pull the video up, and boom, there it is. By not being in the field, it has enabled us to invest in additional software systems for the business, and then turn around and not only invest in them, but get them implemented and
Mhm.
customized to work with our business. So it's like, honestly, man, you just got to get out of your own way. And
Yeah.
going back to the whole beginning of this conversation, if you don't have the core values knocked out, if you don't have the mission statement and the purpose nailed down, you're not going to be able to figure this stuff out easily. That right there is your direction in
Mhm.
business and even in life. You really need to get that stuff nailed, because otherwise, like I said earlier, you're just that big ship floating around at the mercy of the sea.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it just reminded me, in because everybody knows I'm in Warrior, or they should by now. I talk about it enough. Garrett, I'm pretty sure I totally overlooked it when I saw it a couple months back. but I'm pretty sure he has like a 4 or 6 part little video series on uncovering like your core statements, your core vision, your core all of that. I'll try and find it. I'll go through it. I'll do the exercise. Maybe we should redo it and I can reiterate it or like teach it in my own way across here and we can work through that and just kind of follow this whole conversation up. See how it
Yeah, that's
helps.
cool.
Because I imagine, well, there's so many different ways of doing it. There's always going to be crossover, but it would be interesting to see what comes out of it.
Totally. Yeah, and you know what? Just because somebody else says it doesn't mean that the person who's consuming your material might understand it coming out of that person's mouth versus yours. You might
Yeah.
connect with your audience or whoever you're teaching it to better than somebody else. You know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's huge. You can take all the communication training in the world that you want, but you're not going to be everybody's shot at tequila.
Oh, that's so true, man. It's so true. I think you have to get to a certain point, probably age in life, where you just finally is like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
You have to realize that. I remember being younger and just trying to please everybody, and just like I was like the dog trying to who chases their tail, and I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe because I have kids now and I'm married, and maybe because I'm almost 40 years old and I'm grumpy as shit. I don't know. It's all good.
That's awesome.
Yep. Yep. So cool beans.
Yeah, man. We're a bit over time here. I'll let you get back to your vacation. Enjoy your family time there.
Bedtime, dude. I'm keeping my 5:30 a.m. gym time going, and I did it today, and then went out in the water with the family, and you see it in my
Mhm.
eyes. I'm shot. I'm
Yeah.
shot.
It's all good, man. Thanks for coming
Yeah.
on, man. Appreciate it. It was good chatting and catching up.
Yeah. I appreciate it. Hey, are you going down to um whatchamacallit, Dallas in October?
Yeah, I'll be there.
So, me too. I'll see you then. I
Yeah,
look
man.
forward to
We'll have
meeting
to
you in
grab a
person.
beer for sure.
Yeah, I can definitely do that.
And for
I
everyone watching, I mean, if for anybody watching this, if you guys have questions about the installations, marketing, figuring out these core values, like whatever the case may be, don't be scared to hit up Thomas, hit me up, like ask questions. We're here to help. I know a lot of you guys are going to be in Push to Excellence or Entourage. That's a big part of my network because I've been there for so long. I know that there's a lot of people outside of that network too that would appreciate hearing this. So like, there's no such thing as a stupid question unless you're asking if it's a stupid
Mhm.
question.
That's true. Yeah, I'm totally open to it. I live, eat, and breathe this crap. So if anyone wants to talk about this, and it doesn't always have to relate to business. So if someone wants to
Yeah.
hit me up and go over this, I'd be more than happy to help out. See, I told you I was tired.
It's all good, brother. Have a good night. We'll catch up later.
All right, cool. Thanks. Bye.
Come on, get home safe. Cheers.